Greetings, ladies. How are you? How are you doing? So excited to see you this evening. Well, tonight we're going to be talking about single in the city or single in the suburbs. It's going to be a hot topic. We're going to have fun talking about it. But before we do, just want to share a little bit about who I am and the purpose of this gathering. So, my name is Gwenera. I'm the founder and principal for Enjoying Life Fully. It is an organization that exists to empower, inspire, equip, and enrich teen girls and women throughout different phases of life so that they can walk in their purpose and experience a greater fulfillment in life. And we do that a number of ways. You can always catch information about us on our website at enjoyinglifefully.com. So tonight, I'm pleased to have two beautiful, beautiful women with us, Shakina and Nina. And in a moment, they're going to introduce themselves. During their introduction, I'm going to ask them to share who they are and share a little bit about their background and some of what they want to share today. And I'm going to ask that they answer one question to kind of generate our conversation. We're going to be talking about single, we're going to come from the vantage point of being unmarried. So you may hear reference to dating or having previously dated, or maybe even previously being married. Um, for all intensive purposes, right now, single would mean unmarried. And so that's how we're going to have our discussion tonight. So we welcome your comments, we welcome your input, and at the end of our gathering tonight, we'll extend to you an opportunity to join one of our upcoming conversations as well. So, Shakina, tell us a little bit about who you are. And the question, ladies, is what is one value that you appreciate about yourself that you experience in your singleness? Okay. So I'm gonna kind of
Okay.
feel it for a moment because I know sometimes if you're like me, you gotta ponder, you gotta think for a minute. But just think about what is it one thing, and maybe I'll rephrase it, that you appreciate about yourself during your singleness. Okay, we'll start with Shekinah and then we'll have Nina do the same.
Hi, I'm Shakina, and I'm studying to be a child psychologist. So the question is, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm like,
I
I
love
was
it.
like
I
thinking, I
love
was like,
it.
we do my
Just
introduction. I was
so,
like,
no, it's a-okay. So the question is, what is one quality or one aspect about yourself that you appreciate during your singleness?
I would say boundaries around freedom that
Mm.
I have as a single woman. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're going to come right back to that. Boundaries around freedom. I need clarity. I need understanding. So be ready to tell us a little bit more about that. All right, Nina.
All right. Hi, I'm Nina. I'm currently a teacher, also studying to be a psychiatrist in the future. One thing that I love about my singleness, and this is more of a newfound aspect, I'm really loving the time that I give myself to experience my emotions and to go
Mm.
through, like, basically going through that roller coaster and really explaining to myself, like, this is why you're feeling this way, this is how you're going to work through it, instead of like depending on somebody else to just get my emotions and help me through it. I love that independence.
Okay, I think
Mm.
we could kind of end right there, ladies. Thank you for being here tonight. No, like
That's so
seriously,
good.
both of you were so deep already. All right, so we're gonna start with Shekinah's, but Nina, you might have to help bring me back to what you just said. But I love that because as
Yes,
women,
please.
we are emotional creatures, and so there, oftentimes by society, is a suggestion that we suppress our emotions, that we don't emote, that we don't express, and that we don't feel. So I think that's going to be very integral for us to discuss, particularly in your singleness, because I've often heard the battle of loneliness as opposed to being alone. And so I want to incorporate that a little bit into the emotions aspect. But before we get there, let's talk about these boundaries and freedom within your singleness. So, Shekinah, you were mentioning that you look at it from the perspective of I'm gonna say, setting some boundaries in the freedom. What I'm hearing when you say that is that even though there are no limitations, there are no restrictions, you know for yourself that there may be necessary to set some boundaries. So talk a little bit about how you apply that and what that looks like.
Yes. So with boundaries, I had to learn this. But a lot of people assume because you're young, you're single, you have no kids, you're open and available. You're ready to do XYZ, you're ready to do, different things for them, go out, hang out, yada, yada, yada. Like you're available. So I had to learn that no, I'm not available all the time. I actually do have goals, I have things, I have other priorities that I have to set. So setting those boundaries helped me in my life. Like being single, I don't have an accountability partner, as in like a husband or kid. It's just me and God. So I have to actually set boundaries, letting people know, no, I can't do that. Not allowing people to take advantage of my singleness. So that's what I meant by protecting boundaries in my.
I love that, Shakina. I love that because I know that to be true in many areas of life. In other friendships or relationships, sometimes there's a misconception that because you are not married or do not have children or that there should be this wealth of time that should be available for them to encroach upon. Even when you think about serving, whether it's in your local church or on boards or in various capacities, they tend to look to the single person to, provide more. And even in the workplace, like there's a lot of statistics that will indicate that some companies prefer to hire singles because they feel like they have a greater degree of commitment. They don't have to go home at 4:30 to pick up kids from daycare or to cook dinner or to, support their spouse or things along that line. So that is very valid. That is very admirable. Um, so when you talk about setting those boundaries, and Nina, I'm going to ask you to jump into for your perspective, how hard was that? How did you get to a place where you knew it was necessary for yourself?
Burnt out. I was burned out. I was tired of being
Mm.
burnt out. And I was, not to be cheesy, but I wasn't enjoying life fully.
Oh,
So
girl,
I
speak
was
it.
working, I was not enjoying my life. I was not enjoying my singleness. So when I hit burnt out, I was like, I need to put up some boundaries. I'm going back to school. I can't be, people can't assume it. And I have to, it's kind of like you have to train other people, give
Oh,
other people
talking my
that
language.
expectation
Exactly.
that you're not available. And they get it. Now I don't have a problem with, people that are around me. They know she kind of has boundaries, she has a life, but I would highly encourage, if you're single, to set boundaries because I you don't want to go back to burnout.
Yes. It's so, Nina, I'm going to pause right after I say this because this was so vital what Shakina said. And as a mental health coach and a life coach, I oftentimes try and reinforce you have to teach people how to care for you and love you. Because they bring their own perspective, they bring their own experience, and they bring their own knowledge, and that does not necessarily represent me, you as an individual. So I love that you said, Shakina, that you had to kind of help people understand who you were and what you were after. What were your aspirations? Because then something had to sacrifice. And what I heard you say is that you weren't enjoying life. So your happiness, maybe your joy, maybe your contentment was kind of hanging in the balance because uh, more was being pulled or piled upon you. So thank you for sharing that. So Nina, what are your thoughts about having those boundaries within your own freedom?
I completely agree that those boundaries are crucial to have. So I would say that I feel personally, I started dating like too young in my perspective, and I did
Mm.
not enjoy being single. So that affected me because I kind of depended on my significant other to provide those boundaries,
Mm.
and that affected me because since they provided the boundaries, I didn't have my own life. I kind of just went along with whatever they thought I should be doing, like whether that be, oh, I'm just gonna cook, clean, I'll be the housewife or something like that. Like, okay, like this is what I'm doing right now, and when you say it's time to do something else, cool. Because I didn't have my own aspirations in check. Like I didn't
Mm.
put them ahead of my other partners. So I just felt I should go along with what they think I should be doing because therefore I would be happy too, which was not the case. So then when I left that relationship and I actually took the time to create my own boundaries, because it did take time. I totally avoided it at first and I would just keep myself busy. So I didn't have to worry about that, but I still wasn't happy. So then finally creating those boundaries and just enjoying my life, not worrying about, oh, I need a significant other because I need someone to show me that love that I want. I want someone to be there, tell me I'm pretty, hold my hand.
Mm.
Just taking that time, just exploring new places, new people. What do I really like? What do I really want to do on my weekends? That really just like brought me back down to earth. It really kept me level headed, and now I see things a lot clearer.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so you again unpacked quite a few things. So I'm gonna try and three, I think about three big nuggets I heard drop. So one was about understanding yourself, that oftentimes in relationship, we lose ourselves. And then there's a period of time where there's opportunity to kind of get to know yourself or look at the relationship and say, this was a contributing factor maybe to me not gaining the satisfaction. Peace and wholeness and all that has to start from within us. So encouraging all the ladies that are viewing, sometimes we have to challenge ourselves about our own worth, our own value, how we see ourselves, and where our real contentment comes from. Because if it's extrinsic, if it's outside of ourselves, once it's taken away or stripped or looks different, then what happens? So, great opportunity to reflect and do that introspection to really understand what drives your passion, what drives your desire to enjoy life, what gives you that fulfillment. Now, it's great to have a partner, a spouse. God created us that way, right? He created man and woman for us to be in relationship. However, there are different paths that we all take to get to that place, some quicker than others. And certainly in your singleness, I firmly believe it is an opportunity to really become more familiar with yourself so that when that compliment comes along, you have that confidence, you have that certainty, that assurance of who you are, and you could bring your best self to that relationship. So, Nina, you also mentioned, on at the termination of a relationship, and then taking the time to say, this is mine, this is me. What did that look like? Can you share with us any particular steps or process that you want to share with us about how you had to kind of come to that place of knowing who Dina is? And she's a beautiful person, I must say. But I might be a little biased, but yes.
A lot
No,
of
I
reading.
agree. I agree. I agree. I
It,
agree.
it took a lot of reading. I
Mm,
dove deep into a lot of poetry books. So
mm,
a lot of books about yourself, a lot of books about healing a broken heart, things like that, because I feel like at the time I felt I was just so heartbroken. I was so upset of leaving the relationship that that was clouding over me finding myself. I
mm,
just was too upset to do that. So first I had to heal from that in order to find myself. So once I did fully heal, or maybe not fully heal, but once I healed to the point where I can move on, then I began just exploring different activities. Like, what do you truly like to do? So I would take my cell phone on dates. I would look up
mm,
cafes, like, oh, I want to try this little cafe. And being alone was another huge thing for me. At first, I didn't like being alone because I'm very used to having someone. So that was another step in basically dating myself, is what I call it.
mm.
So I
Yes.
have to take myself on dates. I would have little spa days, little movie days. I would just do art. So like I have a little canvas now and I like painting. So just little quirks, little things here and there that really just make my heart smile
Mm.
and make me feel joy. And that's how I found myself.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. I love it. And so, Shekinah, I'm gonna circle back to you, um, in particular because so I have to acknowledge, ladies, that I know both of these women very intricately. So I may reference some things that have not been part of this conversation, but will present. So, Shekinah, over her years, her high school years and her young adult years, lost a lot of weight. And I know we've talked about how you begin to value yourself and see yourself different. And so the reason why I wanted to touch upon that is because there are a lot of women out there who, when they look in the mirror, they don't love themselves and they don't see beauty. They don't see someone worthy. They don't see someone full of life and possibility and purpose. And oftentimes, I believe that we project onto others, as we talked about earlier, about we can teach them how to love us, but we can also teach people how to treat us. And if we don't value ourselves, others won't. They may be around us and they may take advantage of us or latch onto us, but they may not um, be a good fit for us. They may not treat us well. So, do you mind sharing with us a little bit, Shekinah, about how you kind of transition to a place of feeling confident and full of worth and full of purpose? And okay, so another beautiful lady, she's just beautiful too. And I got to paint a little background about both of them for a minute. So Nina talked a little bit about poetry. She writes poetry and art, and now give it over to Shekinah. She's a fitness guru. She is artistic as well. So these ladies, they're like hot ladies. Okay, they're not somebody we just popped up from somewhere. But I hope they're inspiring you because these are everyday women. These are women that are in northern New Jersey that are walking out their singleness in different ways, but yet you can see how they're smiling and they're full of joy and they're full of peace and contentment. So I just gave you a little bit of time there, Shekinah, to kind of think about how you may
Yes.
approach this. I like doing that. But so yeah, share a little bit about your journey to appreciating, loving, valuing who you are.
Um, I think it was getting to know like myself, like finding out what I like, and it was also what I can control. Like I can't when I'm in a relationship, I can't control another person's feelings about me. You can a little bit, but at the end of the day, if they don't like you, they don't like you. So in like my healing process, working out was more of like a stress relief type of thing. I didn't work out because I felt overweight or I felt like unworthy of my body image, and that was the reason why. It was just more of that's how I heal. I have to, work. I have a lot of energy, as you could see. I have a lot of energy. So I need to burn that energy somehow, some way. So that's why I started to exercise, started to move. And so I gained confidence. My stress was low. I started feeling good about myself while I
Mm,
was healing during that process. And I was also, I could, like I said, I can control that part of myself. Like, okay, I can control my health. I can own my health. So,
mm,
and that health was like me. Like, I did this. Like, I'm proud of myself. So it was, yeah. And so now it's just like, I mean, I started working out when I was in like high school, like middle school, high school. Um, but obviously your body changes.
yes.
So now, I just a habit, just it's just a part of me. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And what I'm hearing both of you ladies offer and suggest is really about finding that value within and loving yourself in spite of everything else. And one of the things that I've learned, and a good friend of mine shared with me a while ago, is that one of the ways she really came to love herself is that during the times of her personal hygiene, she would intentionally stand in front of a mirror and just as she lotioned and applied whatever she did to her body, she would just thank herself for her body and say, I love
Mm,
this. I love my arm. I love my neck. Thank you for my neck, and just would go through this affirmative process daily to re engage with herself, to appreciate herself, because there's no perfection. So, if you 5'2" and 105, God bless you. But there's still ways that if we are not psychologically, emotionally, mentally, or even see ourselves as physically unhealthy, that we still can have image issues. We still can have body image issues. So it's not necessarily about the physique in totality, but it is about our mind and how we approach it. It's our mindset. So what I'm hearing from both of you is that you both approached it and kind of attacked it and conquered it. So I think that's very admirable. So when you think about singleness, I'm going to circle back a little bit here, um, and how is portrayed in the bigger society. What is one stigma that you think is associated with singleness that you would love to see torn down, that you would love to see reframed, or even just extracted? Like, people need to stop saying that about single people or single women, or anything like that. What is any stigma that you think is associated with singleness that you would kind of want to debunk?
I would definitely want to debunk age requirements.
Mm.
Like, oh, you're in your 20s, you don't have a boyfriend yet? Like,
Oh,
they're kind of, I feel like they're saying, like, what's wrong with you? Why doesn't anybody want you? Like, no, that's not the case. I'm just taking my time. Or, oh, you're in your 30s, you're not married yet. Are you going to get married? You don't have kids? When are you going to have kids? Like, I'm just going to do everything at my own pace. Like,
yes.
I don't need you to tell me how to live my life and what I should basically be doing with my body. Like, if I'm not married yet, I will be married soon. Just now, I'm not gonna lie, I do struggle with this sometimes too, especially when I'm on Instagram and I see like all my friends having babies and getting married. I'm like, should I be like doing this? Am I missing something? But
Mm.
so it
That's
is
that's
difficult,
true. That's
but
true. Yeah.
and it's because you see it so often and you hear it so often, even though you don't want to like believe that, like, oh, I'm 35, I'm not married yet, that is fine. You don't want to get into that, but it's still like a little voice in the back of your head.
Mm-hmm.
But that is definitely something that just needs to be erased. There's
Yes.
no such thing as you're this age, you should have this done in your life by now.
Yeah,
Mm.
I oftentimes around the holidays, that is such a stressor for single folks. As you go into family dinners, or so much so, I think last year, in social media, it was these memes about rent a date. Like, you could rent somebody
Yeah.
to take with you
Yes,
to either
I saw that. I was
Thanksgiving
like,
or to Christmas.
I'm,
Did you raise your hand,
I'm
Shakina?
gonna go. I gotta go get one.
But it's like, ask me about me. Like, why do I have to be,
Yes.
attached, or perceived attached, or in a relationship to qualify my
Mhm.
existence? Like, you not want me to come? That was my mindset. Like, when we do that, and I have to say we, because it is such a societal influence that I may be guilty of. I may subconsciously be like, oh, cousin, you ain't, wait, you know, that's none of my business. Like, no, how are you? What's happening in your life? There's different ways to approach, connecting with those that we care about and those that we love. So I agree with you, Nina. Even from the perspective that, that term old maid, like, at what age is that? Like, people still get married in their 60s. It is what it is. But that is a big stigma. And social media, as I think every time we have one of these world conversations, it's in it some type of way, because its influence is so grand and so great. But all right, Shakina, you have a stigma that you would love to see debunked, or
Um. Yeah, I think my stigma. It's like falls in the line of, oh, she's so pretty. How come she's not married? Or
mm,
she's so educated, or she's so well put. How come she's still single? So kind of the uh the model of like, because you're so pretty, you can't be single. You have to be attached to a man. And so I was like, can I just look good single? Can I feel myself? Like,
You
can
doing
I look
it.
good?
You're doing it.
Like, yeah. But like, I get that a lot, like, especially because of the, like, I mean, it said, like, the age. I get that, well, you're so pretty. Like, how come you're not married? Like, I'm just like, can I just look? Like, can I look pretty? Like, so that's just me. Yeah.
And
That's one thing that I want to
unfortunately,
point out.
that's almost
So
like
yeah.
that would be the reason for someone to marry you is because you're pretty. Now, I'm not disqualified. We are creatures with sight. God gave us sight, right? So He gave us the art, the ability to appreciate good-looking things. Eye candy is like what I like to call it. So, God gave us that gift. But is that the only qualifier? Like, is that the only
Yeah.
reason that someone should be interested? Is because I'm pretty, you're pretty? We got to dig a little deeper. We got to do a little better. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's our own sisters, our own that are like, talking that
Mhm.
language. So thank you for both of those perspectives on what can be debunked when you think about singleness. Um, One of the things I often think about is uh, when you're single, people tend to think that you are excommunicated from life. Like you can't be enjoying life. You can't be experiencing fulfillment. You can't be satisfied. You can't be happy. Well, truth be told, the way some people be talking about marriage, I'm not going to have that
Yeah.
conversation. But it's like, okay, I'm a little good over here. Okay. Um, yeah. But, there's good in marriages and there's not so good in marriages. So I just want to put that out there. This is not to attack marriages because I'm a firm believer in marriages. Um,
Me too.
However, just like I said, there's good and bad in all. Um, but so swinging back to the emotional part, Nina, that you talked about, allowing yourself to emote and to experience life from an emotional context, and take the roller coaster and be okay with it to get to know and learn yourself more. Um, how do you peak and valley in the roller coaster? When do you know it's time to pick yourself up? Because we all have peaks and valleys. There may be days when we feel great and inspired by our singleness. It gives me greater freedom to pursue, some of the academic credentialing I want to uh, be this in life. It may give me time to travel the world. It may give me time to socialize in different capacities. It may give me time to just self-care, you know, on a different level. But then there's times where, as I think I heard both of you say, that something happens within us, and whether it's part of our development, because we during certain times of the month we peak a little bit and we valley. um, how do you kind of restart yourself, or how do you kind of reactivate yourself when you feel like you're maybe on the down road? How do you kind of level out and then maybe bring yourself back up?
So I love vibes. I love aura.
Mm.
So I have an oil diffuser that like lights up. I have candles. So whenever I'm going through peaks and valleys, I'll just set the candles, I'll dim lights. If it's sunny outside, I'll open my shades to let the
Mm.
sun like penetrate any kind of negative vibes or darkness that's floating in the room from my emotions, anything like that. Definitely just self-care. Whenever I'm going through something, self-care to the max. I love it. I'll just sit in the bath for like an hour.
Mm.
When I come out, I will do the affirmations. I will put the lotion everywhere. I will just relax. I'll do a face mask. I'll do anything to make myself feel that spark of joy. So, like,
Mm.
I'll paint or write some poetry. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to do all of this just to suppress those emotions, because there are times where I have suppressed those emotions. But now that I am in my single environment and I'm loving that single environment, I'm not going to suppress those emotions anymore. I'm going to allow myself to feel those and to explore what I feel and why I feel that way. So I am going to, if I need a healthy cry, I will healthy cry. And I won't cry like forever and ever. I'll kind of give myself like a limit, like, okay, like, let's think of how serious this is. allocate some time of your day to that. Pull out your yoga mat, do some meditation, just pray, just talk to God, tell him what you think you need, ask him for your help to soothe those emotions. And that's how I go about my peaks and valleys.
Yes, awesome, awesome. And I love, I'm always reminded of this scripture where God counts our tears. Like he knows that
Mm.
we're going to have these times. Um, and it's instrumental for us to identify what helps us restart, reactivate, and kind of get us back on the train. I like to say to stay on the train. Um, but you gave some very good key points of how women can either maintain or help pick themselves back up. But before I restate them, I want to give Shakina opportunity to share how she, um, regains some of that level of worth and value and self contentment and all of that when sometimes it's a battle. Because like sometimes it's a real battle
Mm.
to kind of stay in that place.
For me, it's a lot of things incorporated. Exercise is one of them.
Mm,
So yeah, that's why I really like to exercise to get my mind not off of it, but just like my energy goes to my workout, you know. And then also I journal and I reflect and like really pray and ask God, and I'm very transparent with my talks to God a lot more now. So, but I really asked God what was the root and what was the trigger. Because did I see
mm,
something on Instagram that made me feel that way? Did someone say something? Did I envy someone else? So I try to ask God or the Holy Spirit to reveal to me what the trigger was, because I wasn't like that like 5 seconds ago, but what triggered that emotion? And then the Holy Spirit reveals that to me, and so I deal with that with him. I say, okay, Jesus. And then he reaffirms me. And so that's how I move forward. But I try to get like, there's always something that just bothers me. And I need to like focus on what that was. And even so, repent. If it's envy or jealousy of what I see in other couples, I have to repent of that and, remind myself of the promises that God gave me that, my husband
yes,
is, being molded, shaped, and since I journal, I look back at, some of the things that me and God had in conversation. And so that's a couple of things. And then also, I'm a social person. I'm introvert and I'm a social person. So I get myself around my friends who know me, who I have like, you're one of them too, good. But I get myself around friends who just encourage me, and not encourage me in the sense of, oh, keep on believing God for your husband. They encourage me as who I am. Like, God called you to do X, Y, Z. I want you to figure, like, you are this. So that's really affirming to have people around you who know you and know you, whether you're with someone or you're without someone. Like, they remind me that I am me without them.
yes,
So
yes,
that's what
yes.
helps.
Yes, wow. So you both just divulged a lot. So I'm appreciating the affirmations because I believe that's significant. We have to speak over ourselves and we speak the
Mm,
very power and promises that God has already spoken to us. And that in itself can oftentimes help us move from where we're maybe stuck to that place of wholeness again. Um, Accountability is significant. I am such a firm believer, both evidence in my own life and again in coaching responsibilities and clients, the significance of accountability partnerships is huge because you want people to be able to also offer some insight because sometimes our lens gets a little skewed. Just like we can kind of go into the valley, sometimes our mind and how we see ourselves, how we see life, we have a very narrow focus. We're all in tunnels. And, sometimes
mm,
those tunnels limits our the bigger view, the larger view, and sometimes even God's view. So having those around you who can speak into your life, who can encourage you, can help you sometimes even see what you don't see. Or if you're like me, sometimes you see it, but you ignore it because it's not convenient. And then you kind of want to retract for it. So you
mm,
need those people that's going to kind of help propel you forward. I love the mention of self care. huge, huge. Single or married, self-care really helps establishes your own kind of nucleus of how do you care for yourself, how do you want to be best to yourself, and how do you want to reward yourself, how do you want to be kind to yourself, how do you want to love yourself. So that's significant as well. Prayer is significant. Exercising, I mean, you all just dropped so many gems of ways to kind of not only navigate your singleness but create enjoyment, because when these become uh, constant elements to your week, to your routine, it diminishes that time and opportunity for the negative self-talk or the negative self-thought. And sometimes even when triggers are present, you begin to combat those triggers. um, Social media is, as good as it can be, it has a lot of influence. And uh, the reason why companies spend so much in marketing is because as humans, we hear, but what we see produces so much more of a memory and sticking point than what we read or hear. Our visual is so much more significant. So I do believe it is part of our responsibility to ourselves, particularly in our singleness, but just in general, to be well. We have to limit how much noise we allow in, how much influence, and who influences. Every now and then you might have to go through that, your followership or who you follow, and be like, not
Delete.
following them anymore, not healthy, not healthy, causing too many triggers, and then it's not an avoidance, but it's about your own health, your own mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical health, because it all is interrelated and can certainly contribute to how we see ourselves. And we want to be our best selves. Um, we are truly gems. We are truly masterpieces. I think of a masterpiece is not something that you just look at and say, "Oh, that's good." No, you admire that thing. You want to know the intricacies of how was that composed. What are these elements that contribute to it? So that's what we are. That's what we are, and that mystique is something to be appreciated in our singleness and who we are. So, ladies, I think this was a great conversation. I loved it. I loved it. And as we always kind of get near the end, I always want to go further and ask more questions. But I just think some of these topics are going to kind of resurface in different ways. But before we close, I just want to give you space and room to offer an encouragement, to empower another woman, to inspire her, to maybe enrich her life with either a scripture, a quote, or an affirmation, or something that you subscribe to personally that you know can just motivate you or cause you to just rise up, or as our Michelle Obama will say, go high. Like, what are what are some words you would like to offer to our audience to encourage them, for those that are single and even those that may be in those complications, or struggling with who they are because maybe they haven't dated in months, years, or find themselves coming out of a relationship and maybe feeling a bit entangled with that. This is just a famous word. I think we all just love using it. But anyway, so I'll pause for a moment and allow you both to offer some of your gems, some of your words of wisdom.
A quote that I used to tell myself when you were helping me, actually, Miss Quinera, with my previous relationship. I would tell myself, and I would like to tell other ladies, it is okay to fall apart and pick yourself back up again through the journey of healing. Healing is messy and it is not easy.
Oh, that's okay. That's a whole nother segment right there. Whole nother segment. A
Yeah,
whole nother
kill
segment.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, healing. It has to be messy because you're dealing with some stuff, and many times it's stuff that only comes to the surface when relationships end, or when we hit an impasse, or most of the time the messy part we suppress or we try and keep packaged, and then at times different seasons of our life that unpackage it unravels, and so then we have to deal with it. But thank you for those words, Nita. Shakina.
I would say really get to know yourself in this moment. As you're single, get to know yourself, spend time with God. The more you spend time with God, He will um, give you the courage to actually love yourself for you.
Mm.
And to those who are praying for um, a husband or to get married, I usually tell, I was talking to a friend the other day who's single and she was struggling in her hopes. I said, in your prayers, pray for favor, kind of like an Esther ordeal. Pray that whoever the guy is, that he will have favor, so that when you approach him or when he approaches you, there's already favor, it's already there, and so he will love you completely and totally in all shape and form because you completely love yourself in that unique way. So that's
Oh,
my
love
encouragement.
it. Love it. Oh, what a great way to conclude our segment on singleness. It sounds like I should have really titled this Loving Thyself because you ladies just
Yeah.
exuded that. So, yes, single in the city and single in the suburbs, ladies, thank you for joining us. And if you're interested in participating as a uh, discussion participant or have a topic that you think we should challenge or discuss, reach out to us on our website again, enjoylifefully.com/connect. There's a form where you can fill out. You can indicate your interest or present us with a topic that you think is worthy of discussion. As well as you can follow us on Instagram. We're on enjoying_life_fully. And we're on Facebook, Enjoying Life Fully as well. So I think we're on most social media platforms. We're on Twitter. Enjoy Life Fully, I believe, is the handle there as well. So thank you, Shakina. Thank you, Nina, for being vulnerable and for being transparent.
Thank
Appreciate you
you.
so much. I always love these conversations. And I just, hope you have an enjoyable week. Stay cool. Okay, by the time this air, the heat wave will be over. But just for those of you that know, we did this in the middle of a heat wave. Uh, we were hitting spiking 90s every day. But thank you both. Be well and look forward to connecting with you soon. And to all of the single ladies out there, you rock. You are worthy of all that you believe and all that has been spoken to you and through you. Believe it, stand on it, and just trust. Trust the process. Trust that God has the best in store for you. So be well. Look forward to talking to you soon.